Listen up, Friar Faithful. 97.3 The Fans Padres Roundtable is on the air.
Unbelievable!
It's time to discuss everything going on with the Padres. The 97.3 The Fan crew is here for the most in-depth discussion on the Friars in our weekly Padres Roundtable, delivered by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. And now, here's your host, Ben Higgins.
They just went 7-0. I mean, but I just think the way that they're playing and the style of play, and you get to actually see them, with the aggressive base running and with a lot of the older players or veteran players, they're not even that old, being healthy and seeing that productivity mixed with the young guys like Jackson Merrill, and then the pickups like Gavin Sheets. You're asking a lot to try to have them keep up pace after 7 games, but They look like they're a pretty tight-knit group, so I'm curious to see how they play against the Cubs. But I'm gonna bump the win total up a little bit.
It sounds kind of crazy because it's just 1 week. But I mean, if you went 4-3 or 4-2 every week, you'd have a really good season in Major League Baseball. It certainly does look like a team that can put something like that together. They're not going to go 7-0 every week, Paulie. But how much more optimistic are you after this first week?
I mean, they could go 7-0 every week.
Yeah,
they haven't lost
some
yet.
sort of record. I think
162-0 is still in play, guys.
Yeah, I think I had them at like 87 wins. So of course, I'm gonna definitely bump that up. I think you'd be foolish after this start to say that you got to have that win total start with a 9. Now it's going to be in the 90s. Expectations have already risen for me after 1 weekend. I think you had a lot of questions that. Look, it's only been 1 week, so you can't say they've been fully answered, but you didn't know what you were going to get out of Randy Vasquez. You didn't know how Nick Pivetta was going to look. He had a good spring, but he looked amazing on Sunday Night Baseball. So I just think that the pitching staff is looking good. I would definitely keep them probably like the 91, 92 win range right about now.
Woodsy, I thought your prediction was a bit on the low side for the talent of this team.
Yeah, I did it on purpose, as you know.
I know how you work.
Yeah.
I understand.
It's by design.
Are you going to stick with it just to keep motivating them, or
Keep the heat on,
or do you feel like, okay, 84 was a little low?
I'm actually going down. I'm going to go down to 77 wins. 77 wins for the San Diego Padres in 2025. Okay.
Only 70 more to go now.
That's right.
They're almost there.
That's right.
Skraby, what about you?
Well, I was overly optimistic coming in, and I remember at the dog park I was called crazy because I said they were going to have 92, 93 wins this year. So now I got to go at least 110. That's where we're going.
Wow.
I'm going the complete opposite of Woodsy.
I'll take it.
First place in the NL West?
Will that be enough to win the division?
No,
I don't know that 110 will be
Still
enough.
missed by
I don't
3
know.
games. Be 3 games short.
No, but really, I think that they're around the 90. They're going to stick with where I was at, like 92, 93, 94.
Well, I don't want to be the voice of sobriety here, but I picked 90. And which was, I think, optimistic at the start. I think 90 is still a good place to land. There will be things that happen over the course of this season. The baseball season fundamentally is long. And, what happens now is different what happens in June and August and September. There's waves, and you ride up and down. Padres are starting the season on an up wave. It's going to help them for sure, but I think these are the kind of waves you need to get to 90 wins, which is a really good season. So I'm happy just sticking with where I am and feeling like I've got a little bit of a cushion to ride out the tough week or two that is inevitably going to come, for every team at some point in the year. But hey, let's enjoy this at least while it lasts, as the Padres are 7-0.
Well, they don't play the Rockies for another 6 games, so they should be safe.
Fair
Watch out for the
enough.
Angels, too.
Next homestand, the Rockies.
That's
come
the
to town
big concern. Yes,
to sober us all up very quickly. All right.
that's right.
Yesterday, of course, the big news, Jackson Merrill with the 9-year contract extension. I think everyone agrees. Great move by the Padres around baseball, team-friendly deal. So I won't go there, but now the Padres have 3 core players locked up. You've got Manny Machado, well into his career, now into his 30s. You've got 26-year-old Fernando Tatis Jr., and you have Jackson Merrill. Manny's done it for a few years.
You have Xander Bogaerts as
you gotta
well.
put
You do.
put
I'm not
Bogaerts
putting-
in there.
I'm not putting him in this question, though, because of the question, and let's start with, on the other end with Matt Skraby here, is of those 3 that I mentioned, Manny, Tatis, or Merrill, who will finish with the best Padres career when all is said and done?
Oh, my goodness. That is
It's
loaded
diabolical,
question.
isn't it?
That is
Isn't
a
that a tough
loaded
one?
question because immediately I want to say Jackson Merrill because I love the guy so much. But I got to think that Fernando, if he plays like this, he's the guy who has the extreme talent out of the 3 of them. They're all very talented, but Fernando's the guy who has the extra gear. So I would say that he ends up as a better Padre, but Manny's doing some great things as a Padre as well. But I'm going to go with Fernando.
Woodsy, you've always been such a Manny guy, and he's done it. He's so consistent. The hardest thing about a career is consistency, and Manny's the only one who's really shown that. Fernando is, had his injuries that he's played through, suspension. Jackson's been great from day one, but he's only 1 year into what is an unpredictable sport and unpredictable career. I think there is an argument for Manny Machado. What do you think?
I think there is too. I mean, he's probably my pick right now today. Probably the safest pick of the three. But when you look at ceiling, I think Skraby hit it on the head. Fernando Tatis Jr. has the ceiling that is potentially like 50-50 guy, 40-40, like at a minimum, right? He's got that every year. But Jackson Merrill nipping at his heels. I mean, Jackson continues to impress every single time he gets on the field, and again, he said it. I haven't gotten my big boy strength yet. That guy's just going to get better and better if he stays healthy. Sky's the limit for him. But Manny's a really safe pick for me.
I think so too. Paulie, do you have a lean on any of these three?
Well, I think it honestly should be more the two, Jackson Merrill versus Fernando Tatis Jr. Because if you're going to say their time with the Padres, like Manny had almost 10 years before he got to the Padres. So if you're going to look at their career as a whole, when it's all said and done, now Manny Machado retires today, he's going into the Hall of Fame. I think like he's a Hall of Famer. He's right there. He will be a Hall of Famer in my opinion when it's all said and done. So, but for the best Padres career, I do think like Fernando can catch Manny Machado's Padres home run record of 170. Wherever he's at now, but it was 171, I think. I do think that Fernando can catch that. I'll go with Fernando as well by a slim margin. I think Fernando's more likely to win maybe some MVP awards than Jackson Merrill, and I think certainly than Manny Machado as well. I agree with what you guys said, though. His ceiling is just so high. If he's healthy, it was the number one thing I was excited about for this season was what could a full 158 game season look like from a healthy Fernando Tatis Jr.? And he started off locked in.
I like that, Paul. You're thinking kind of like me because Fernando's locked in for 14 years. Even Jackson with his new contract will still only be 31, and he may spend the last 8 or 9 years of his career somewhere else. I hope not, but it's certainly possible. Braden, what's your thoughts here?
Well, I agree with all these guys when it comes to Fernando for sure. I think Fernando is arguably the best player on the team. And I thought you saw that on opening day. He was the best player on the field. And it wasn't even, that particularly close. And I think that's the big reason why when he first came onto the scene, he was the face of baseball. And he went through that, all the off-field things that he had to deal with injuries and the PED scandal and all that stuff. And I think that's finally behind him now. And you really get to see, and I think Major League Baseball, who has, maybe forgotten about him a little bit, not a lot. Everybody knows how great Fernando is. I think you're starting to see that now. But in terms of your question, just to play devil's advocate and throw some love for Jackson Merrill, yesterday when we talked about the contract, after you guys had your show and after the press conference, we had a lot of people, saying this could be the next Mr. Padre because of his ties to the city and how much he wants to be there, taking kind of a hometown discount and everything like that, and what he brings from the intangible side. I talked about that on the show yesterday too, about all of the mental makeup that he has, about his desire to win, about, what it brings to now the youth of San Diego. I mean, how cool is it now? And I said this yesterday. I mean, Woods has young kids. How cool is it now for your kids, Woods, to have a core group of players that they know are going to be Padres their entire childhood? I didn't have that as a San Diego kid growing up here. It was a different group of players almost every single year. And I think from the standpoint of best Padres career, we're going to think about him as a Padre. You bring up a good point. He could be somewhere else by the time this contract's over, but the way that he kind of encapsulates San Diego and the way that San Diego's really behind him and how much he loves this place, not to say Fernando doesn't, I'm gonna pick Jackson Merrill from all of the intangibles aside from just on the field.
Chris, I think part of the irony here is that when we talk about best career as a Padre, you're going to start with the numbers that they put on as a Padre, but I think how much winning the team does is also going to affect our perception. And the contract Jackson Merrill signed yesterday will not only help Jackson, but it'll help Manny and Tatis as well look better as Padres because he's going to be around for their entire 10 years as Padres as well. They're all going to benefit each other over the next 10 years.
I just wanted to point out the play that Jackson Merrill made in the game yesterday. and it was not his home run. It was beating a force play at second base on a simple ground ball to third. That doesn't happen. You watch the rest of the season, you count how many times on a regular ground ball to the left side of the infield with 2 outs in the inning, a runner at first base beats the force. They're always out. They never make it. He made it. He's got a work ethic. He's got something that even Fernando, I don't think has. Manny Machado, I don't think can win this award because, as Paul said, he played too much of his career elsewhere. He's the leader of the group of the pack, but Jackson Merrill has a work ethic. He has an understanding and a respect for the game already at this young age that I think is off the charts. And I do think physically he's going to wind up being as talented as Fernando when all is said and done. Fernando he's way more talented right now. I think Jackson Merrill is going to catch and pass him.
Does the fact that Jackson got drafted by the Padres affect this decision too? Because he's drafted, developed, and brought through?
If he stays with the Padres his entire career and even just puts up seasons consistently like he did his rookie year, he could put up such astronomical numbers starting at age 20. I mean, if he had a 20-year career with the Padres, he would break Tony Gwynn's records by the end of his tenure. So if he does stay, he can build it up. I think for me, and they're all different players. Manny's greatness is in his consistency, his posting every single year. You know, obviously he has unbelievable skills as well. Fernando, I know that if I watch a season of Fernando, he's going to do spectacular things, both at the plate, in the field. And I don't know when they're going to come, but they will come. They'll be spectacular. But with Jackson, it's like every time he's up now, I expect him to do something good. And he almost always rewards me, or every time he's in the field and he's on the base path. I mean, he's already so consistent with his performance in ways that I don't normally see young players get. Usually young players are inconsistent and you see the glimpses of greatness and they put together a season. He barely slumped at all in his rookie year, and now he's picking up right where he left off and maybe even a little bit better in his second year. I'm kind of leaning toward Jackson Merrill now as my guy that might put together the best career of them all. All right, good start here. First 15 minutes of our first roundtable. Our 97.3 The Fan Padres Roundtable is brought to you by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. Why are we laughing?
What were we going to say?
Nothing.
Skraby
had a
something to
rebuttal
say,
that
but
you did not, and you did not.
It's
Ben
okay.
just-
It's okay. He's locked
Full
in
wrecking
over there.
ball.
He has a really hard job,
Let's
but I don't
tell
want
him
to bother.
about locked in Ben.
And I said,
man.
I go, welcome to my life.
That's why we were laughing. No, I was going to say that I said on the show last week, I was driving home one night and Jackson Merrill was coming up to bat, and I got home and I sat in the car for Jackson Merrill to hear what happened. And that was usually only Fernando or Manny before, but now you got multiple guys that you are now, they're sit in the car guys is what I'm calling them. And I sat there for a good 10 minutes when I could have went inside, but I wanted to see what happened. And it was because Jackson Merrill was coming out.
Well, the way they're playing right now, I call this team the canceled plans guy. Like, don't book dinners, don't book nights out, don't book anything. I don't want to miss a game.
You saying Thursday is going to be a popular night out for people in San Diego?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you want to do a date night, tonight's the night, because I want to watch the Padres, and I've always wanted that in baseball. But this team in particular, especially after this first week, it's appointment viewing. How are they going to win tonight? Are they going to steal home? Are they going to have some weird double play that they turn? And it's just incredible. The breaks have gone their way, certainly early, but man, it's been inspired, really fun baseball.
You're already seeing similarities to like the second half of last year in particular. The craziest sequence of events would happen, like the triple play to clinch the playoff berth or whatever. All the walk-offs, like things that did not happen the year before, started happening really in the second half of last year, and you're already feels like you're getting a glimpse of that early in the 2025 season.
All right, so we agree. There's really no bad problems right now. So let's talk about the good problems that Mike Shildt is facing. And I think one of the good problems he has is how much is the right amount to be playing Gavin Sheets. As hot as he is, at the moment, he seems to be on the platoon side against righties. But with how he's been hitting, Braden, do you want to see Gavin Sheets in the lineup every single day going forward? Did you like the way Mike Shildt is handling it and getting Yuli Gurriel and now getting Jose Iglesias some playing time as well, even if it comes at the expense once or twice a week of Gavin Sheets?
I'm all about playing the hot hand. I think if you get to a certain point where he continues to rake, I think you got to leave him in the lineup because it's hard to take that guy out of the lineup. But that being said, there is something to say about letting the guy, do what he's good at. And, a saying that Tony Gwynn used to have that I know USD Baseball uses is know who you is. And that's something that, I think with Merrill last year in particular, he was a guy that you want to a little bit protect being a rookie and have him near the bottom of the lineup, even though he was hitting really well and people wanted to see him go up, up, up. It's like, hey, just let him do his thing. I think you can make the same argument with Gavin Sheets. It's like, look, he's doing really good against right-handers. We don't necessarily know what he's going to do against left-handers. I wouldn't mind giving him an opportunity and see where it goes. But, sometimes you got to know what your role is on the team. And sometimes maybe that's the reason why he is having so much success is because he is in the role that he is. He knows who he is.
Yeah. Skraby, your thoughts on Gavin Sheets? Is this what we're seeing real? And does he deserve to be an everyday lineup institution right now?
I would say not every day just yet, but I would say that they found their DH, their main DH, and coming into the year, no one really knew who the DH was going to be. Was it going to be Luis Arraez? I mean, were you talking about him being a DH? But Gavin Sheets, I looked at his numbers when they first acquired him, and I didn't see what everybody else saw was, oh, this guy stinks. He only hits 10 home runs a year. He only does this. He only does that. I saw consistency on a really bad team. And so I looked at his numbers as he could probably be better. And then we met him at spring training, and you get that feeling of this dude really cares. He really works hard, and he wants to be great. And so I would say if he keeps going like this for a few more weeks, they got to do it because I'm not too excited about Yuli Gurriel. I know he had that hit on Saturday night. Jose Iglesias, I'm a little bit more excited about because I've seen a little bit more from him, but it's either Gavin Sheets or Jose Iglesias for me.
Well, you're kind of nodding there, Jose Iglesias. You might want a little more opportunities for those guys as well.
Yeah, that guy's a really good hitter, and
love the interview Sammy did with him.
It was really well
really
done.
Good. Yeah.
Also
good with the glove too.
Yeah, good with the glove. Great play yesterday. Look, you got to get these guys work. Everyone at the beginning of the season, you got to figure out what you have. And so I have no problem with our 7-0 baseball team, how they've deployed Gavin Sheets yet at all. None. And will that change? Look, Schilte's already done a couple of things this year that I went, hell yeah, that's trusting Jake Cronenworth to stay in against that lefty and already equal his home run total from last year off a lefty. That's purely a manager's probably gut feeling of like, no, I'm going to give Croney a look here instead of just immediately pulling the cord, going to Iglesias there. But you do have to get Gurriel ABs. You do have to get Iglesias work. Lockridge is going to need ABs. Everyone needs ABs. There's only so many to go around. Right now, it ain't broke. No need to fix anything.
And Chris, ultimately, this problem kind of solves itself in that you usually face right-handed starters. So Gavin Sheets is probably going to get the bulk of the playing time as a DH right now.
Yeah, and I have to jump in just for a quick second here. Gavin Sheets has done it for a week. And really, other than that, we have a 240 career hitter. So I'm not ready to, vault him to the status of a Yordan Alvarez with the Astros.
Full-time DH.
It's
Big
a little
Poppy.
early.
Yeah,
it's a tad
Thanks,
early.
voice of reason.
I also know that most people
Kill the
don't
vibe.
think Yuli Gurriel's ever going to get a hit because he's been rolling over and popping up his first 12 at-bats.
And he's 41.
12 at-bats is absurd to make a decision on anything. So I think Mike Schilt has to, at least for the foreseeable future, continue platooning, getting guys opportunities. We get to the end of April, into May, then we can start deciding.
All right, let's talk about the good problems on the pitching staff. The pitching has been amazing. 4 runs allowed in the last 49 innings by the Padres. Bullpen finally did give up 1 run. That's not a problem, though. And the 4th and 5th starters, who were probably the biggest concern coming out of spring training, both looked really good the first time through the rotation, and Randy Vasquez and Kyle Hart. So when Mike Schilt does face that question of Yu Darvish returning, who so far, and again, this is early, Paulie, who do you want to see stay in that rotation right now based on what you've seen so far?
For right now, I would have to go with Randy Vasquez. I'm very excited to see how he pitches tomorrow against the Cubs. Follow up that first start was fantastic. You couldn't have asked for a whole lot more out of a Randy Vasquez. And, I guess in my head, I kind of wrote him off a little bit heading into this season with the Yu Darvish, the slow start to expect from Yu Darvish. And I go, God, we're going to go with Vasquez again. Like, I don't know, man. And then you start looking back at, he really did provide quite a bit last season. Like Schilt blew our minds at FanFest when he talked about how good Randy Vasquez was for that pitching staff last year. So I guess between him and Kyle Hart, I'd say I'd lean towards Vasquez, but I'm excited with what
maybe
Kyle Hart
I'm
provides
overthinking it, but I feel like every pitching staff needs a change of pace guy, a slow throwing left-hander who can.
I still have a little eligibility left.
Look out at third base.
Give teams a different look in a 3 or 4 game series. And Kyle Hart is the one guy who can do that, Chris, for the Padres, as opposed to kind of these power-armed right-handers that otherwise you'd be seeing constantly every single day. And they're really good pitchers. I'm not having a problem with any of them pitching, but it's good to have a Kyle Hart sometimes in your rotation.
Well, he's a great story too. 19th round draft choice and 9 years in the minor leagues, 10 years Korea. The only time he pitched in the major leagues, there was no fans in the stands. And then he goes out and wins his first ball game. So that was great. And you really got to root for a guy like that. To me, when Darvish comes back, by the time Darvish comes back, I still think they're going to use Darvish carefully this year. I'm thinking 15, 20 starts for him would be about right. So in the meantime, Vasquez is going to keep getting starts. Hart is as well. But don't forget about Matt Waldron, who's another perfect change of pace guy who, in my mind, has accomplished more than the other two at the big league level, despite his slump at the end of last season.
Still dealing with the oblique, but reports are that, should be throwing again soon. And you're right. Matt Waldron was the savior of the team during the summer last year when they needed pitching. Woods, and they've got Stephen Kolek, who had a good first start in the minors as well as a possible starter. Again, good problems right now for Mike Schilt.
Yeah, good problems. And I'm kind of with Paulie in that, I would love to. I know what I'm expecting from Michael King. And when I don't get it, I'm surprised. And I know what to expect from Dylan Cease. And when I don't get it, I'm surprised. I actually know what to expect from Yu Darvish. And when I don't get it, I'm surprised. I don't have that feeling about Randy Vasquez and Kyle Hart yet. It's earned, right? It's earned in baseball. And great job first time through. How are you going to do on the second, the third? The book's out a little bit. I mean, the book's out plenty on Randy Vasquez. But, when Yu Darvish comes back, one of those guys is going to go. So whoever they decide, my guess would probably be Kyle Hart just because he's the fifth guy in the rotation. But I love the change of pace lefty too. But that being said, these days, if you have righties that can get guys out, it really doesn't matter. And those guys have proven they can get guys out. Yu Darvish can get righties out, lefties out. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I would like Yu Darvish in this rotation sooner than later.
I did like Chris's point, though, about maybe 15 to 20 starts, depending on when he's ready, because think of how important getting off to a good first 60 games could be for the Padres, where you don't maybe feel an urgency to rush him back and need 6 or 7 strong innings every single time out. It's almost like, look, nothing's guaranteed. You can't plan for the playoffs, but you want to have him as ready to go as possible by the time you get to those late August, early September games.
And Yu Darvish obviously only made limited starts last year and was fantastic in the playoffs because, partly because he was fresh. Now we're sounding like Dodger fans talking about their team.
Oh, look how deep we are.
Oh, so deep, and we got such a good start. How do we keep ourselves in top shape through the summer with such limited competition?
How do we stay motivated for the playoffs, right?
The good news is with Yu Darvish, there is not a single pitcher in baseball that I would trust more who knows their routine and knows their body and knows their arm and knows when they're ready to go. I mean, that's what we saw last year. We had no idea what to expect, and we just threw him into the fire at the end of the season, and he pitched brilliantly.
All right, let's who we have left. Skraby, Braden, any thoughts on the back end of the Padres rotation?
Well, I think Hart's going to stay. I planted my flag with Kyle Hart. I think, and Chris mentioned his story. His story is great. I think what he brings is phenomenal. I like his kind of fiery attitude. I don't think it's Nick Martinez level, but from day one of him joining the organization, the scrum that he had, and talking about organization, using the term "we," understanding the history. Right, wanting to go win the division, which is great. I think he's got a great mindset. I think he's got that chip on his shoulder. And his journey, I think, has gotten to a good point. Plus, AJ Preller did a good job with bringing players over from Japan and Korea so far in his tenure. I think even though his major league experience isn't a lot, I still think Kyle Hart at his age and with the experience that he has pitching professionally goes a little bit further than Randy Vasquez. And I think they want to let Randy Vasquez, get some innings in somewhere else and maybe have him work down in AAA a little bit too. But it's a good problem to have, as you mentioned. Plus, with Kolek and Waldron, all four of those starters are going to make starts for this team in order for them to be successful.
Yeah, you need them all. You need every one of those guys you mentioned.
All right, I want to move on because we're about halfway through, and I want to bring in, for the first time this year, the Roundtable Draft. It's back.
Here we go.
For anyone who hasn't joined us or anyone's new to the semicircle, the draft works like a draft works. You can't pick someone who's already been picked. So even if you like someone else's answer better, you got to come up with someone else. And today's Roundtable Draft question is, who was your opening homestand Padres MVP of the first 7 games? And today's order is age before beauty. So, Chris, you get to lead us off, and we'll go in inverse order of age, which I believe is Woods, then me, and then I don't know between Paul and Skraby. I have no idea.
I'm almost 40.
Okay, so then Skraby, then Paul, and then our new 30-year-old.
That's right.
Just minted last week. Happy birthday to Braden.
Thank
We'll
you.
go last today. So, Chris, who was your opening homestand MVP?
Ruben Niebla. Is that a
Ruben Niebla. That's an outside
that
the box
works.
choice.
Can I choose that?
Thank you for not taking a good choice.
I think you can.
Yes.
First of all, there's so many players I couldn't separate. Everybody had a great homestand, but I'll go with Ruben. I think he was the biggest signing of the offseason, frankly. Bringing him back, I think just set this team up for success. And his pitchers have come out. You mentioned some of the stats, but teams are hitting 166 against the Padres pitching staff through the first homestand. In 63 innings, they allowed 36 hits. That's insane. And, the whip is 0.90. He comes out there in the 8th inning yesterday. The only time the game was even a game was when the Guardians put first and third with 1 out and had the tying run to the plate. And here came old Ruben trudging out to talk to Adrian Morejon. He went back in the dugout, and the inning was over 1 pitch later. I don't know. This guy's got a magical touch. Yep. Whatever it is, the whisper, whatever. So I'll go with him.
All right, Woods, who's your opening homestand MVP? All players still available. So
Yes.
I mean, if you want to take
Coaches are available
Ben
too.
Fritz, perhaps.
Love Ben.
Ben coach, or,
Can't go wrong with Ben.
Don and Mud.
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I'll go with Toddy.
Okay.
I'll go with Toddy as the tone setter. Tone setter in the field, tone setter at the plate, tone setter with the glove. Leading off, is really where I've always thought he's going to be the best and do the most damage. And that's what he's done. I mean, just a monster player. It's pretty easy choice for me. And I mean, I didn't want to go like bullpen. You know what I mean? Or
and
I didn't want to say Victor Rodriguez, even though he deserves.
Yeah,
some
no,
nod.
they all do.
But
That's why it's a tough question.
Putting
here.
the ball in play, like we talked about today, just one strikeout.
One
so
strikeout
far.
all season. And,
Yeah, man, that's what you want from your leadoff hitter, and he's dynamic.
And we talked with Mike Schild about that. What does he like to say? Intentionality about, commanding the strike zone and making sure he's swinging at the pitches that he wants to, walking more. And whether that's because he's in the leadoff spot, I mean, you can walk more from any spot in the order, but it does feel like he's embraced. You put him there, and now he's embracing the fact that he's a leadoff hitter. Not that he can't swing for the fences, and he hits some balls hard and one over the wall. But, Fernando almost gets overlooked a little bit, but they probably aren't here without the way he has set the tone.
Do you think he's going to be able to, just as an aside, do you think Fernando's going to be able to keep from swinging at the low and outside slider like the whole year?
So, I mean,
it's incredible. He's like completely changed.
Yep.
Manny
They
hasn't
keep
swung at that
throwing
pitch
that
either.
same pitch, and he's just watching it now.
I honestly, and like you just said, Manny too. I mean, they're laying off that.
They're spitting on that thing
pitch,
now
which
for
is
sure.
crazy.
It used to be
wondered that
so
myself.
frustrating.
But you see them go through those, they have a 2-week period where they don't
There's gonna
swing
be
at
some
it.
slumps,
And then they start swinging at it like, well, what happened last week? Because you weren't swinging at that, and now you just don't see it all of it sudden. So it's
hitting
baseball.
is really hard.
They got pitchers that throw it a little bit
very,
better.
very hard.
Hitting
Not-
is
not
very
impossible.
Not impossible.
Very hard. All right, I guess I'm next. I'll take an obvious choice. I'll take Jackson Merrill as my opening homestand MVP. Obviously had the 2 home runs in the last couple of games, but has done a lot more. I mean, he's had a hit in every game. Stat I saw today, he's the youngest player in baseball history to open the season with a 7-game hitting streak, beating Dave Winfield's record with the San Diego Padres, who hit in 6 in a row when he was that age. So to do what he has done, robbing a home run on opening day, just the attitude that he brings, getting hits all the time. He's on the bases, causing problems for opposing pitchers, and doing it all while apparently negotiating a life-changing contract at the same time. Putting those distractions aside and his single-minded focus, not just on baseball, but on winning baseball every single day. We saw what he did last year. We could hardly believe it because he's a rookie with all these vets. How can a rookie who's 20 years old, just turned 21, really be a team leader on a team that contains such veteran? But he became one. He now is one, and he is continuing on. So I will take the very obvious Jackson Merrill as my choice. Not quite 40 Skraby, you're next up.
Skraby's starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, I was like,
two of his best
who am I
options.
going to choose? Real quick about Manny and Fernando swinging at the pitches. I was playing MLB The Show the other day.
Oh, okay.
And I swung at one of those pitches, and the announcer goes, and that's what you have to do to get this guy out. And I was like, if the game knows, then everybody knows. But I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to go Jason Adam, because Jason Adam is pretty much lights out. You can't know it. I mean, what was it? 2 nights ago, he loaded the bases and then he threw one pitch, got the guy out, and everything was fine. But really, he doesn't allow runners. He doesn't allow runs. He has that funky delivery that I love. And Jason Adam, I even think he could be the closer over Robert Suarez. He's that good.
I think that's a great choice. I was trying to think, like, the bullpen is kind of a cop-out, but he's a good representation of what the bullpen has done for the Padres in this first 7 games of the season.
Everybody wants to replace Robert Suarez. He is 3 for 3 right now.
And throwing, throwing more pitches, mixing it up a little bit more. But Adam has come in a lot of the highest leverage situations when the games were close. Not that they all were close, but a few of them were, and he helped lock them down. Paulie, you are next up. We got 2 picks left.
Yeah, Skraby left me with one obvious choice, so I will pick the captain, Manny Machado, who's left on the board. I was thinking along the same lines as Skraby, though. I would have said Yuki Matsui if I was going to pick a bullpen guy. He has been unbelievable.
Wait a minute now. Wandy Peralta.
Right.
2-0.
Victory leader.
2-0
wins.
Weird to feel confident when he walks in. Like, really confident.
He's a
when
good
Wandy
defender,
comes in.
too.
Yeah.
Jumps off the mound.
It's nothing. Look, with Manny, it's nothing we haven't already seen over his 6 years here now.
But it's a hot start for him.
Yeah, no, a hot
Finally,
start,
right?
healthy,
Finally.
and it's just like Fernando. What could a healthy Manny Machado look like? Can he give you more than the 30 and 110 that he gives you every single year? Maybe 35, maybe even 40 home runs. Who knows? But just the consistency and the comfort that you have watching Manny Machado just anchoring third base and where he's at in the lineup. You never have to worry about it. And he's stealing bases. Like, he looks like a different player this year.
All right, last up, Braden Surprenant. We still have a couple of good choices on the board. Who are you going with?
I'm going to go with Gavin Sheets.
Yeah, Gary Bonds.
Yeah, exactly. Gavin Sheets, to me, because he represents, with Skraby picking Adam representing the bullpen, Gavin Sheets to me represents the 7, 8, 9 and the bench pieces of this team, which is a major question mark going into the season. We knew about the top of the order was going to be the run producers that the Padres were counting on, and in the bottom half was just going to be like, hey, let's just see what we can get. And Gavin Sheets has done an excellent job, obviously with the home run on opening day. To either tie or take the lead. I think it was to tie the game at that point. And then the other big days that he's had over the weekend. So to spark the debate of us discussing whether or not he should play every single day. So you got a guy like that coming off the bench. You got a guy like that spot starting and being in the bottom of the order. You're going to be really good, and it's a big reason why you're 7-0 right now.
It's our 97.3 The Fan Padres Roundtable. It is presented commercial-free by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. And in addition to the Roundtable Draft, we always like to lighten things up around this time with our 7th inning stretch question of the day. Something a little offbeat and not necessarily a baseball topic. But in this one, at least, it's inspired by the events of the week. Jackson Merrill signing a life-changing contract, $10 million signing bonus, 9-figure deal. And so the question is, and Paulie, I'll start with you. If you signed a huge deal for whatever, your job was, and you had $10 million in the bank to play with, what would be your first big splurge item?
Interesting. I think you got to go with the new crib.
House.
I think you got to go with the house. Yeah. Get your dream home, get your dream neighborhood. I don't know if he's going to move over to Coronado with Manny and a lot of other players like to live over there. It feels like it feels like destiny at this point that Merrill ends up in Coronado Island. And then not just the house, but I would put the time and the money into the man cave that I've always dreamed of. And I mean, like, doing it with an unlimited budget type, not like a couple of TVs here and maybe a jersey or something hanging up. I mean, just do the full man cave. I don't like to go out. I don't like to leave the house. So I want to be comfortable in my my theater man cave room. That's probably number one.
Woods, I've seen your house. It's pretty nice. I mean, you never have invited me in. True. I've seen it from the outside, and it's nice. He doesn't invite anybody in.
No, both of our shows have something in common. I've never seen Tony Gwynn Jr.'s house either. So there you go.
I've been in both of Tony and Chris's house.
So I'm assuming you don't need a house. What would you buy?
I need a chef is what I need.
A chef.
ASAFP is
That's a good call.
what I spend on DoorDash. I could probably afford one now. So no, it's the constancy. Really, the only thing we fight about is what's for dinner. And I would love to come home, have meals made, love to wake up, have meals made. Everything's there. Take this with you. This is your lunch. This is your breakfast. Here's your dinner. I made this tonight, and never have to worry again about going to the grocery store, cooking one of the 4 things I know how to make, ever again. Taking care of the kids, like with good nutrition, and it's such a no-brainer for me. I mean, it would, like, the first call would be probably to Manny's chef and be like, "Hey, can I get you as well?" It'd be my very first phone call.
We found Mookie Betts has 2 chefs.
Yes, 2.
Right? He's 2.
Yeah.
Two personal chefs.
2 personal chefs.
Because, I mean,
One for lunch and dinner, the other for dessert.
Why
You got
big
pastry
rush?
chefs
different
at home.
cuisines. I mean, they're not all great at everything. You got to have
Different
at least 2,
expertise.
right, to cover your bases.
Yeah, it's such a no-brainer, man.
Matt, I wonder if we're possibly thinking along the same lines. What would be your first big splurge?
Well, I think I know where you're going. I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction, but in a fantasy world, I would love to be able to pay to play Augusta National. I know you have to be invited and all that stuff, but that's not what I'm going with here. I'm learning how to fly, and I'm buying a small plane.
Wow.
Because
Wow,
I have
that
wanted
was out
to
of
do
left
that
field.
for a very long time. My grandpa, I grew up flying around with him. So I want to go and get my pilot's license, and then I want a plane that will be able to fly me around the southwestern United States.
All right, quick show of hands. Who wants to be the first to fly with Skraby as he flies you around San Diego in his little
I am
tiny
a
plane?
very responsible person.
No takers.
Oh, I'm getting Chris in that plane if this
for the
ever
first
happens.
flight with Matt Skraby.
Now, Tony,
Yeah, his first flight.
First flight.
Well, his first
Forget
solo flight. I mean,
Tony
after
would never. He is
he's-
terrified.
yeah,
of
his
flying.
dad was
was too.
famously very, very scared of air travel. Had to do it, of course, all the time as a baseball player. I don't mind it. Woods, you don't love it, do
I
you?
don't love it.
Yeah.
No, I don't hate it. But
I like
don't
the
love
I like
active-
going places. I don't
Yes.
like flying though.
The
Yeah.
turbulence. I'm
it.
like,
I like getting there.
more, please.
Are you,
like
are
getting
you out
there
of
quick.
your mind?
Yeah, I'm not gonna dissuade anybody of what they already think about me, but I would join a really nice country
Swanky.
club.
Of course.
Really great golf course. You know,
Which
like
one?
of those
Where are we
ones
going?
where
Yeah,
they-
which one?
the initiation
no-
fee is
the
like
gambling-
the bridges or something like
There's no
$250,000
gambling at Bushwood, sir.
$250,000 initiation type
Oh,
fee.
my goodness.
You know,
Wow.
where there's
The upper crust.
like there's and the course is usually empty because there's not that many members. So you can get out and play whenever you want. You don't have to wait for a tee time
Yeah,
or anything.
it's kind of a waste, though, if you're a professional baseball player in your 20s.
I'm not. I'm just signing my own deal. and I
Oh,
get to-
at
you don't have to be a
49
baseball
years
player.
old.
Yeah, you're not a
you got
baseball
$10.
player.
I'm saying you just get a windfall somehow in your account.
Yeah.
And what would
Fair.
be your first big splurge item? That would
Yeah.
probably be
I guess that changes
Mine.
it a little bit.
Braden,
I was
what's your-
definitely thinking like 21-year-old superstar just signed $130 million. Ugh.
No, I'm definitely buying a house for sure.
House.
I'm living out in Del Mar or Coronado or something. Something by the
You already
coast.
live in Del Mar and
No, I don't. I don't live in either of those places. I don't live in either of those places. No, buying a house would definitely be my number one. The closer to the beach, the better. That would be my
You buy
purchase.
your house first, or do you take care of the parents?
I'm buying. Well,
it's a good look.
It's
to take
always
care
a
of the
good
parents
move.
first. Really good.
what
look.
I could do. Here's what you do: you buy your parents the beach house, and still have it. And then you live. I don't mind the house that they currently live in. I'll take that one over. And then I can make my visits to the beach house, and then later on I'll have my own beach house.
All right, Chris, you're wise. What would you spend?
I don't know that
bonds.
I don't know that I have enough money.
Stock savings bonds.
I'll put in my
Stamps.
401k.
Coins.
10 million in savings bonds.
Trader Joe's crackers. That's what you would spend it on.
I don't know why I even came to me.
All right.
God, so much shade. New softball bat.
I can't afford I would love to own a team somewhere, but I
Ooh,
guess I don't
that's a
own.
10
I
ain't
don't
getting
think
it,
that's
though.
quite enough money yet.
10's
So
not
Maybe
getting
the
it.
Storm.
I think the freedom of having my private jet to go wherever I want to go. I think that is where I would go at this point.
Skraby,
We got a
baby.
pilot
I'm your
for you.
pilot.
Private
Right
jet.
here.
Pilot for you.
I'm right here.
I got 135 million. I can hire an
No, you have
actual
10 million.
pilot.
You have 10
Well,
million.
you can have it eventually, though.
Yeah.
So this is
I-
just-
I'm sure he comes at a discounted rate.
You imagine you show up to the hangar for that first flight.
It's
and
Skraby.
Air Skraby.
Here's your guy.
Just hit my hat.
Here's your guy.
Is he wearing a Skraby?
Chris just turns around and walks the other way.
It would be fun to have that freedom, though. Honestly.
All right. I thank you for all your candid answers. I don't want to bring anybody down, but
Oh, boy.
Oh no.
all good things do come to an end at some point. Padres almost certainly will not go 162-0. How long do you think they're going to keep the winning streak going? Does it end tomorrow against Shota Imanaga? Or are they just playing such good baseball that you feel like they have a few more in them? Can they sweep the Cubs and get to Sacramento, a team that just got bodied by the Cubs, and threaten the record, which is, I believe the modern record is 13 straight wins to open the season, with the Rays, the Brewers, and the Braves have all done it going back to the early 1980s. Chris, how long do you think they keep the wins going?
First of all, none of those three teams you mentioned made the World Series, so let's not put all of our eggs in that 13-win basket. Secondly, I think it only makes sense that they'll go 13. They'll sweep this road trip. They'll tie the record. They'll come home on a Friday night with a chance to make baseball history, and the stupid Rockies will be waiting for them.
No.
I mean, that's how it's going to lay out as far as I'm concerned.
Bad call.
Losing the dinger, the Triceratops.
Braden, what about you?
I don't want to be pessimistic. I just the way that tomorrow lines up, I don't really like it too much. It's Imanaga versus Vasquez, opening day for the Cubs. I mean, I could see that being kind of a loss. And again, as you mentioned, it's going to happen eventually. That doesn't mean I don't think they'll take 2 out of 3, but if I had to pick the next, I don't think the way that it plays right now in Sacramento, has anybody watched any of those games? That might be a bandbox and a launching pad.
No
You might
doubt.
see a home run derby next week. I don't think they lose to the A's.
There's some weather too this weekend.
Right. So with the weather and the wind, I mean, I'm just having these flashbacks. Maybe it's PTSD. I could be imagining it, but I remember, didn't Vasquez get lit up there last time or something like that? Or I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember it being a rough outing potentially for Vasquez in Chicago. So I don't like the matchup tomorrow. I don't like the weather, the off of an off day, first road game. I could see that being a walk-off loss tomorrow.
Paul, you bring up the interesting point of the weather. If you want to stay undefeated, a good way of doing that is not playing.
True.
Yeah, it's hard. You have no idea what the weather's going to do.
Playoffs with a 7-0 record.
You don't know if you're going to have a double header.
Canceled after that.
You don't know if you're going to have a double header if a game gets canceled.
tough,
You never
too,
know.
yeah.
That changes things
Hard to sweep
entirely.
a doubleheader.
I'm predicting a 5-1 road trip.
Okay.
But I do think if I had to pick where that one comes, I agree. I think it would probably be tomorrow. It's opening day for the Cubs. That could give them a little bit of a boost. The matchup on the mound is not particularly great for the Padres. Certainly a winnable game. I do think if they were going to lose a game on this, for at least for the next 3 games, I would pick tomorrow night. Then you got Nicky P on Saturday. I think they could bounce back and even win the series against the Cubs. And then you throw in King and Cease, at least, right, against the
Sacramento.
They're
Athletics.
gonna both be in it.
Yeah, so I think if they lose tomorrow, I think they finish out strong and come back home, 12-1?
Yeah, and no one's turning that down. I mean, we'd all sign up for 12-1 right now. And still, it's going to be frustrating when, the Dodger fans on Twitter start making fun of the Padres.
Because they'll be 14-0 by
when they're
then.
14-0 at that point. Woods, how long does this last?
Probably ends tomorrow,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. But hey, man, like
That's just how he thinks. Though, doesn't he,
I'm not
Ben?
going to change. Try
We're
to
gonna make it clear to everybody that we all think we're gonna go 162-0. This is just if it happens, it's gonna happen.
I'm not going to,
tomorrow.
listen, I love the hot start. I said all off season, it's so imperative this club gets off to a hot one. But, the reality of baseball is we could be in here next Thursday, a week from today, and be a 500 team. It's just stupid. Baseball sucks like that sometimes. And, the matchup, I'm going to lean on the matchup of Imanaga throwing the ball really well in a home opener for the Chicago Cubs, who have a little bit of confidence. Granted, some of that confidence comes from hitting in Sacramento right now. But, I'm not going to change the way that I look at, hey, when you go on the road, try to go 500 on the road and play a little bit better at home. Try to win a series. You take 2 or 3 from the Cubs, I'm elated.
Skraby?
Last time that Shota and Imanaga, that's a hard name for me to say, faced the Padres at Wrigley Field. Jerks Profar hit that home run, the go-ahead home run, and then Michael Busch walked it off.
Yep.
So I'm thinking it's going to be this weekend. But in Fantasyland, 19-0. At least get to Tony Gwynn's number, and then you can lose.
It's funny.
Then you're allowed to lose.
Yes, then you're allowed.
I also see the possibility. It's Cubs. It's opening day. You'll have the sellout at Wrigley. A lot of good feelings. That's going to give the Cubs a big lift. But I keep coming back to Jackson Merrill's. We don't feel pressure. We apply pressure. And when the Padres go out tomorrow and play another really good game and grind down Shota Imanaga, and then whoever comes in out of the Cubs bullpen, and all of a sudden at the end of the game they're up 6-2, I'm going to go, of course, because this is what this team just does every single game. I'm no longer surprised when they play well after just 1 week.
First time you get first licks, right? Yeah, first time you've been on the road. First time you're going to have to hit in the 9th inning all season long. So, I could see it too, man. This team has surprised me a lot. But the way that they play, they're going to put the pressure on the Cubbies. But yeah, if I got to pick one, it's probably tomorrow.
All right, Lottie in the leadoff spot though, game changer. That can that can change your opening day festivity mood, happy mood and jovial mood. That can change real quickly with a nice little leadoff home run.
It's also going to be freezing
cold.
But what if the wind's blowing out at like 60 miles an hour?
That's what I'm saying. It's possible.
Every pop-up's a home run.
We're going to need the Dave Marcus report.
Although I learned today that the Windy City is not named the Windy City.
There you go.
The wind.
You're welcome.
People
learned
blowing
today.
it out of there.
I learned that.
Today.
I thought it was
why is it called the Windy City?
Because they're blustery politicians that blow hot air all over the place. I had no idea.
Blowing in and blowing.
All right, we've got about 4 minutes left of our San Diego Roundtable Pizza Roundtable. It really is pizza royalty. Will take a long term. What is AJ Preller now his focus? He's got Jackson Merrill locked in. There's no real great candidates for at least young guys for long-term extensions, but there's Dylan Cease, there's Michael King. Is there any trade possibilities he's working on? Woodsy, what do you think? What do you think's on AJ's mind right now?
I think pitching always on his mind, and I think you look at the first week and you go, oh man, we're set. We don't need anything. We just talked about some of the depth, but he's always going to be in the mix for a frontline starter. You can't ever have too much, as we know. Even though you can win a World Series with like 2 starting pitchers and a really good bullpen, which we saw happen last year. I think his focus is going to be on pitching and again, still maybe a catcher.
Chris, what's on AJ Preller's next order of business?
I think just depth. Continue fortifying the roster. I'm still a question mark, as I said right at the beginning, is the bench as a whole. I'm not sold on Hayward. I'm not sold on Gurriel yet. I'm not even Iglesias. I mean, I like, the spark he brings. The catching situation, I think, still needs a little attention. Maldonado is kind of an automatic out, which is what we knew. So I think, you can do a little better, there's going to be times where the bench is going to have to be there because these Manny and Fernando are not playing 162 games. We know that.
Braden, what's next up for AJ?
In terms of like a contract extension, I'm going to have to go with Michael King out of the group. But in terms of just overall what he's going to do next, it's as these two guys said, it's definitely depth. I think it's starting pitching, and I think the problem with the catching situation, there's not a lot of options.
Nobody out there
because
right.
What you need as a catcher of a guy that can be a good defensive catcher and swing, they're unicorns. There's only a handful of them, and the one that you think you have is down in the minors right now. Yep. So I don't think that catching position is going to get addressed. So I would go with trying to find a way to strengthen the pitching staff.
Skraby?
All those are great choices. I think, like, Brain just actually stole my thunder with the catcher point. That was a really good point because they are unicorns. I'm going to go with AJ finding a trade that helps with depth, and it might even come at the cost of Robert Suarez because you do have Jason Adam. I know he's got a big trade in him this year. Didn't do anything in the offseason. I'm thinking it's going to be some sort of trade.
And Paul Reindl.
I liked the King extension, but
Yeah.
I think it's ultimately, I think he's already looking at what other teams may need and already starting to burn some hours on the phone, trying to figure out if there's a move to be made. How can I make this roster better? It was our number one concern. One of our number one concerns was this team can't be 4 games, out of the wild card race when the trade deadline comes, because then Cease is gone, King's probably gone. All of a sudden you get off to a hot start and the mentality starts to change. Be like, okay, we're not going to be sellers. We're going to be buyers. And it doesn't have to be mid to late July either, as AJ has shown us time and time again, especially last year, getting Luis Arraez, first week of May, I think they made that trade. That never happens, but it does. AJ Preller will make the impossible happen. I do think he's going to look out, try to get some depth, probably most likely at the catcher position.
I think AJ has to do what is the hardest thing for usually AJ, although he did a pretty good job of it this offseason.
Nothing.
That is be patient. Play some pickup basketball and let this team just play for a while marinate and come together. And then, you reevaluate as, July starts rolling around and figure out what you need. But I don't think you really need to do or think about anything for a little while. Watch your guys' minor league season starting, see how your young guys are doing. Let Mike Schilt and his coaching staff and your players just cook for a while, see how it's going, and then we can reevaluate in a couple of months, unless there's reason to hit a panic button. And so far, there are 0 reasons to hit any panic buttons in San Diego. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the first edition
That was fun.
of the 97.3 The Fan Padres Roundtable, brought to you every week by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. Going to dig into a few slices, and then if you're live, it's the Braden Surprenant Show. If you're listening to the replay, then maybe it's the Skraby Show coming up next. I have no idea, but just stay tuned for more content coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.